Hello humans, Dr. Tux here. Today we're examining one of the strangest mysteries of domestic cat behavior. Why do cats follow humans to the bathroom? If you live with a cat, you've probably experienced this. The moment you stand up and walk toward the bathroom, your cat suddenly appears behind you. Sometimes they walk in with you. Sometimes they wait outside the door like a tiny bodyguard. And the question many humans ask is my cat protecting me? Or is something else going on? To answer this question, we need to look at cat behavior through the lens of evolutionary biology and behavioral science. Scientists who study animal behavior often work in the field of ethology, which examines how instincts shaped by evolution influence the way animals behave today. When we look at cats through that scientific lens, the bathroom mystery becomes much easier to understand. In fact, several different biological and behavioral mechanisms may explain why your cat follows you. Reason number one, cats are environmental observers. To understand this behavior, we first need to understand how cats evolved. Domestic cats descended from the African wildcat, a small predator that hunts animals such as rodents, birds, and insects. Unlike large predators that chase prey across long distances, cats rely heavily on patience and observation. They watch, they listen, they monitor movement. In evolutionary terms, cats occupy a position known as a mesopredator, a mid-level predator that hunts smaller animals but must also remain cautious of larger threats. Because of this ecological role, cats evolved to constantly monitor their surroundings. This type of awareness is known as vigilance, a behavior studied in fields such as behavioral ecology. Animals that depend on hunting small prey must pay very close attention to environmental changes. A sudden movement could signal potential prey, another animal entering the territory, a possible threat, or a new opportunity. So when you stand up and walk into another room, your cat's brain may interpret this as an important environmental event. Something in the territory has changed. And as an instinctive observer, your cat follows to gather information. From the cat's perspective, this behavior is simply environmental monitoring. Reason number two, humans are part of the cat's social group. The second explanation has to do with domestication and social behavior. Wild cats tend to be solitary hunters, but domestic cats have adapted to living around humans. Over time, this created new social relationships. Although cats are not as socially structured as dogs, they can form flexible social groups, especially around reliable food sources. Humans often become part of this social network. Interestingly, many behaviors cats show toward humans are the same behaviors they show toward other cats. These include rubbing their heads or bodies against another individual, slow blinking, sleeping near one another, following each other through shared territory. In cat social groups, it is quite common for individuals to follow each other during daily activity. For example, cats sometimes engage in behaviors known as allo rubbing, where cats rub their heads against each other, or allo grooming, where one cat grooms another. These behaviors help maintain social bonds within the group. When your cat follows you around the house, it may simply be treating you as part of this social system. In other words, your cat may not think of you as an owner. From the cat's perspective, you might simply be a very large and slightly strange cat that controls the food supply. Reason number three, cats learn human routines. Another important explanation involves learning and routine. Cats are extremely good at recognizing patterns in human behavior. Over time, they learn to predict many aspects of daily life. For example, cats often learn patterns such as feeding times, sleep schedules, morning alarms, when humans leave or return home. Many cat owners notice that their cat appears in the kitchen just before feeding time, sometimes even before the human has consciously decided to feed them. This happens because cats are excellent observational learners. They constantly monitor human activity and connect certain behaviors with potential rewards. If something interesting has happened in the bathroom before, such as attention, running water, warmth, or interaction, your cat may learn to associate that location with something positive. When they see you walking toward the bathroom, they may simply think, something interesting might happen next. So they follow. Reason number four, territory monitoring. Cats are also territorial animals. In the wild, cats constantly monitor and patrol their territory to keep track of changes. This includes observing the movement of other animals within that space. When a human moves from one room to another, the cat may simply be monitoring that movement within its territory. Bathrooms can be especially interesting locations for a cat because they contain several changing sensory cues. Bathrooms often include running water, unusual smells, echoes and new sounds, temperature changes, doors opening and closing. From a cat's sensory perspective, this environment is quite dynamic. For an animal wired to investigate environmental changes, this can be extremely interesting. So, following you into the bathroom may simply be part of your cat's territory surveillance system. Another interesting explanation sometimes mentioned by cat owners is what we might call the guarding you theory. The idea is that your cat follows you to the bathroom because animals can feel vulnerable when they eliminate. In the wild, many animals are briefly less alert during this moment, which could make them easier targets for predators. Because of this, some species develop behaviors that help reduce that vulnerability. For example, animals may choose secluded locations, remain alert while eliminating, or rely on other members of their group to watch the surroundings. So, the theory suggests that when your cat follows you to the bathroom, it might be acting as a kind of lookout, keeping watch while you are in a vulnerable position. And at first glance, this idea sounds quite convincing. After all, cats themselves often prefer privacy when using the litter box. They may choose quiet locations, and they tend to eliminate quickly before returning to a safer area. However, when scientists study domestic cat behavior, they generally find stronger evidence for other explanations. Most researchers believe that bathroom-following behavior is more likely related to curiosity, environmental monitoring, social bonding, and learned routines rather than a deliberate attempt to guard humans. So, while the guarding theory is an interesting possibility, it's probably not the main reason cats follow you into the bathroom. Why humans often misinterpret this behavior. Humans naturally interpret animal behavior through their own perspective. When a cat follows you into the bathroom, you might assume the cat is worried about you, protecting you, or emotionally attached in a human-like way. But behavioral science reminds us that animals usually act according to instincts shaped by evolution. What appears to be concern from your perspective may actually be a combination of curiosity, environmental awareness, social behavior, and learned expectations. Understanding this helps you appreciate how animal behavior is shaped by biology rather than human-style intentions. So, the next time your cat follows you to the bathroom, remember that the behavior probably isn't caused by a single reason. It is more likely the result of several overlapping instincts. Your cat may be monitoring changes in the environment, staying close to a social partner, investigating interesting sensory signals, or anticipating a familiar routine. In other words, the bathroom itself isn't really the important part. What matters is that something in the territory is happening, and cats evolve to pay very close attention whenever that happens, even if that territory includes your bathroom. But if you think following humans is strange, wait until you learn why cats make biscuits. The evolutionary reason behind that behavior might surprise you. Dr. Tux will explain that in the next video. Until then, stay curious, humans.